begin by acknowledging that we gather here today on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people and extend our appreciation for the opportunity to live and learn on their territory. Before I introduce the co-curator, Catlin and our two artists, Kristina Campbell and Salez, I want to thank the BC Arts Council, CRD, and the Canada Council for the Arts for their ongoing support. And a big thanks to everyone at MediaNet, Catlin Lewis, Peter Sandmark, and Kirk Schwartz, as well as the AGGV staff for all their support in making this project possible. In particular, our collections and exhibition staff, Stephen Topfer, Corey Bryson, and Roger Huffman. So without further ado, I will introduce the co-curator and program director of MediaNet, Catlin Lewis.
Thank you very much, Nicole, and thank you all for coming here tonight. The Crossing Channels screening series that we have here today actually began as a publication, and this, if you want to take a look through it, it's right by the front desk over there. And the Crossing Channels publication began a couple of years ago. We were discussing the fact that there was no publication dedicated specifically to contemporary media art in the province. This is a conversation we had at the MediaNet office, and we really wanted to address that. Many media arts centres have produced excellent publications about their own centres, including the histories of their centres, but there was really nothing that addressed the overall work of media artists within the province. Crossing Channels Essays on Contemporary Media Art in British Columbia was published last summer and contains current information on over 100 organizations and artists in the province of BC. We felt that it was important within this to include the work of the many First Nations media artists who are doing very, very interesting work currently. And so we have it divided into chapters, and there is a section on both media artists and specifically First Nations media artists in Vancouver, and another chapter on First Nations media art being produced in the interior. So I would like to thank the Art Gallery of Greater Victoria for this chance to bring it all to life and to present some of the exciting work by 5 British Columbia media artists, some of which you'll see here tonight. I also wanted to thank the people who wrote the book with me. It was myself and 3 others, Jennifer Kane, Bracken Henus-Corlett, and Marie Prince. And lastly, I want to thank the media artists themselves for producing this amazing work that we're going to see and making us really stop and think about some of the issues involved. Thank you. I'm going to introduce the artist Kristina Campbell, followed by Salez.
Hey everybody. I am so excited to be here to do this tonight. I would like to thank the Art Gallery of Greater Victoria for presenting this exhibition, Nicole Stanbridge and Catlin Lewis, our great curators, and MediaNet as well for all the support they've given me in my career as a video artist. I've got 3 pieces in this exhibition, and they share some common themes. The first being the use of text and language, and my physical presence in the work, and also the exploration of duality. And I thought what I'd like to talk to you about tonight is just to share a bit of my process and give you some background on how these videos were conceived. Eeny Meeny Decimini started for me in a moment of personal revelry about loving and being loved. And I was really questioning, like, what does it mean when someone says it? And so as I do, I pulled out the dictionary and I started looking for words that define love to me. And then that got me to thinking about love and how we think of it as a society, which led to things like little games that we play, you know, like with the daisy, he loves me not. And the randomness with which we can decide the fate of our hearts. And the obsessiveness with which I go for the answer to that question. Do I love? Am I loved? And then I was questioning, okay, so where does that obsessive thinking come from? Like, is that innate in us? Is it something that we're taught? And as I was sitting and stewing on that, I could hear my daughter and one of her friends repeatedly, obsessively chanting over and over the chant, Eeny Meeny Decimini. And so in the way that my family and friends have gotten used to over the years, I dragged Sophie and her girlfriend down to a friend of mine, Mike Demers' recording studio, and recorded the girls doing that, and that became the soundtrack for this video. Initially, Eeny Meeny wasn't a video. I had actually filled a room with a single line of text. And when I showed the piece, nobody was particularly interested in what was on the walls. They were completely fascinated by the fact that I had actually done this, that I had actually read the dictionary looking for words that are synonyms for love and gone around and spent a day placing them on the wall. And so that actually ended up being how I became a video artist, because I had a friend of mine, Scott Amos, to come and actually record me doing that. And when I saw the piece, the end piece that he produced, I really recognized how much of my art actually could be best expressed through video. And that was the point at which I set out to learn how to make videos myself. And the very first course that I took at AGGV was taught by Salez. And she really helped me overcome my fears about the technical aspects of making video, and really just focus on telling my story as honestly as I was capable of doing in that moment. And so for me, a whole new and unexpected trajectory opened up for me as an artist. The second piece, The Name of the Artist, also began with me and my obsessive thinking. I feel like I'm coming out a little publicly here about how obsessed I can get about things. I was taking an art history course at UVic that was entitled Women and Art, and it was a survey of women artists over the last 1,000 years. And historically, the only way a woman could become an artist was to choose not to be a wife and mother. And as we moved forward through time, the majority of women, up until the 20th century, who became artists were not married. Two well-known Victoria examples include Emily Carr and another young woman who's also in the collection at this gallery, Sophie Pemberton, whose very successful career ended abruptly and completely when she married. It's a fact that a woman's name was only the first thing she gave up when she got married. Virginia Woolf said, for most of history, Anonymous was a woman. At the time that I took this course, I had just made the decision to return to university to finish a degree that I had abandoned 15 years previously when I became a wife and mother. And now I was a single mother with 3 children, and I was struggling. I was stunned that here I was in the 21st century, struggling to find a way to be a mother and an artist. There are many stereotypes of the obsessed artist, and what I can tell you about my own practice is that I need long periods of uninterrupted reflection and solitude. The amount of time that I actually spend making the work is only a tiny fraction of the time that I spend thinking about the work. And when I'm thinking, the most simple distractions can just completely derail me. And over the years, I have become far more capable of keeping regular hours and at picking up wherever I had left off. When I go to the studio, I can work. I don't need to run with the moments of inspiration quite as desperately anymore. I can hold the thought, I can hold the inspiration. Chuck Close said that inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. Well, it has taken me years to develop the discipline and the confidence that was required. And my children have grown up. I no longer get phone calls when I'm at the studio wondering where I am or when I'm going to be home. The WAC exhibit in Vancouver in 2008 contains some interesting statistical information about women and art. The Guerrilla Girls in particular had amassed some very startling facts. For solo shows at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, between 2000 and 2004, 90% of the exhibitions went to white, male artists, 8.5% to women artists, and 1.5% to artists of color. I was dumbfounded. On my own personal front, I was fighting to figure out how to be an artist, and I was just dismayed to discover that the career that I had chosen for myself was apparently still subject to the proverbial old boys club. And I had started to collect the names of women artists, and my list became a mantra to me, proof that it was possible. They did it, so could I. And after seeing the WAC exhibit, I decided to do something with my list of names. And my piece, The Name of the Artist, is the result. The third piece is called The Sacred and the Profane. I created it as a participant in a workshop sponsored by MediaNet and Open Space in 2011. And at the time I was reading Norman Mailer's book, The Executioner's Song. And Gary Gilmore, the subject of that book, was a murderer who was executed in the United States in 1977. And the book contained the transcripts of his love letters to his girlfriend, Nicole, which he wrote while he was awaiting execution. I enjoy shooting video of things with no particular purpose or end use in mind. And in creating The Sacred and the Profane, I went into my collection of video and I just pulled out clips that I felt visually expressed the meaning of those two words. And the words that you hear me speaking in that video are excerpts from Gary Gilmore's love letters. One aspect of personality that has always intrigued me is the ability to contain two extremes of a duality. And I've created a number of pieces over the years where I'm playing with word pairings. And Gary Gilmore's letters caused me to reflect on the ability of a human to contain beauty and evil simultaneously. I'm equally fascinated by our desire to categorize dualities, making one good, the other bad. One's right, the other's wrong. And in fact, on reflecting on the three pieces that were chosen for this exhibition, all three express my struggle to contain a duality. He loves me not. Male, female, and the sacred and the profane. There is power in the pair. When we dismiss half, we're cutting ourselves off from half of our humanity. And my hope as an artist is through the process of my questioning that at the end of the day I can produce something which inspires you to stop for a moment and think about your answer to those questions. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out on this beautiful evening. You could have all stayed home and had barbecue and a glass of wine, but here you all are, and for that we are thankful. Thank you. I'd like to thank Catlin from MediaNet for, I don't know how Nicole found out about crossing borders, but she did. That's one of her jobs, is to look for interesting subject matter out there that might be of interest to the general public. So I thank you both for, putting this show together. It's wonderful. It's a great opportunity for myself and Christine and the others that will be in this show through the rest of the summer to be part of a happening at the AGGV. I have 3 shows that are going to be in this exhibit. One of them is Lot 47. I have to apologize about something. Lot 47, I went in and had a sneak view. I wanted to see if there was anybody looking at the videos, and I did see a group of women sitting on the bench watching Lot 47. And to my horror, 3 or 4 images went offline. So when you are watching Lot 47, I apologize for that. It's just offline momentarily. Technical glitch. It'll get fixed for the next time. Lot 47 was a commissioned work by MediaNet, put together a commission called Sense of Place, which was, the idea behind it was that everybody has a connection to the place that they live in. And I chose to speak about where my father is buried, which is at Ross Bay Cemetery. And it was always odd to me that a man who's never been further west than Barrie, Ontario, finds himself buried in Victoria, British Columbia. So essentially, that is the theme of the video. But the video is much more than just a classic narrative line where I'm speaking about my dad and his history, and his connection to a place that he's never resided in. What I find interesting to work with is this idea of memory, how memory serves us and also disservices us. It's an odd thing. I probably do video because it is through video that I really learn about myself. I feel the same way with a camera. When I'm traveling, I've got a camera with me. And I always feel that my travels are not complete unless I'm taking photographs of whatever is of interest to me. It seems that it's only when I look through a lens that I have a feeling that I've discovered something about myself, and then the very next second, I discover that I actually have discovered nothing at all. It's a weird little relationship where I'm learning and unlearning at the same time. Because I'm sure you've all experienced this, our memories don't always serve us correctly. And within this whole idea of memories, there's the family. So I remember this, my mother tells me it's never happened. I tell it to my daughter, and my other daughter will say, actually, that's not what Granny told me when I was 5. So I'm very interested in how memory is constructed. And Lot 47 is very much about that. It's not a documentary. It's a fragmented kind of, my daughter's asking me questions and I'm answering them. But even as I'm answering them, I'm asking myself, is that how it really happened? So that's what Lot 47 is all about. Proust's questionnaire was an interesting conundrum for me. I don't know if any of you have ever read a magazine called Vanity Fair. On the back of it, every month they have Proust's questionnaire. And they ask very famous people questions like, what is your greatest extravagance? And so you read these well-known people rattle on about what their greatest extravagance is. And this used to be a parlor game in the early 1900s. And I thought, I'd like to make a parlor game out of this, but mediated through technology. And what I did is initially, I asked all the people in the apartment building where I live, would you mind being part of an interview where I'll ask you questions like, what is your greatest extravagance? Who would you like to be if you weren't you? How would you like to die? Various questions like that. But not one person in my apartment building wanted anything to do. So, then I thought, well, okay, what am I going to do here? So I put out an email to my artist friends, and they all jumped on the bandwagon. That's great, I love the idea. And then I had the idea, like, why not make it into a multi-mediated event? So in other words, I said, this is going to be not too much work for me because I don't have to worry about light, I don't have to worry about location, I don't have to worry about whether their hair is done up right or whatever. They're going to choose their site, and what they're going to do is they will Skype me, and I will interview them on Skype, and at the same time, I will shoot them in their environment. And it became an interesting little dialogue. And when you watch this particular piece, it's a little bit, it can be a bit disconcerting because some of the locations that they're shot in are not well lit. But then that became, for me, an interesting little phenomena in itself, in that why did they choose to shoot themselves where they are? They're all artists, and in one situation I said to one of the girls interviewed, did you know the backlight is filling in the side of your face and we can only see half of your face? She's a filmmaker. She says, Grace, that's what I want. And I'm like, okay. Everybody was perfect in the sense that they gave of themselves, they answered the questions, and it made for an interesting video in the sense that, again, it is in a way a situation where they said a lot more than what you hear them say. And I chose to take out what I think define who they are. But then as I do that, I ask myself, how right or how wrong am I? So it's one of these things again, what's right, what's wrong, how much is enough, how much is too much. So that's what that piece is about. And a sense of urgency, this is one that I made a while back. By that time, I think I was doing personal videos that used myself as subject matter. And this time I decided to go for a workshop in the state of Utah. Bob Lockyer, who is a very well-known man who developed a program for choreographers and dancers called Dance for the Camera. How do you frame body movement for camera? It's not that I was that interested in dance. I'm not a dancer. I'm not a choreographer. One of my daughters is, so perhaps that's where my comfort zone comes in that field. And what I wanted to do was learn from this man how do you frame a moving body for camera. So A Sense of Urgency was a short that I did for that workshop, and the dancer who is in this piece, choreographed by me, who is not a great choreographer. That's why the steps are very simple. But I did this video and it was an exercise. But when I watched it, and I watched the footage, and then when I decided how I might edit this piece, speaking about dislocation, and speaking about being in a crowd of people, but being lost in that crowd, I found that there was something there that hooked me, but I didn't have any narrative to it. And I wrote something out, but what I wrote didn't stay with me and seemed false and fake. So what I did is I stuck myself in a studio with the edited piece, and I just put a microphone on, and I just said, talk. And so the voiceover is what came from me, what I spoke about at that moment, at that time, at that place. And it's unedited, and I just glued it to the visual running images. So that's what that's all about. I was going to say, I'm not going to tell you what my work is about. I'll talk about something else. But here you go. Why do I do video art? I think it has a lot to do with what I said at the beginning. I'm interested in memory. how that functions, and how, when I work with that subject matter, how it comes into play in the videos that I do. It's nothing more than that. It's really very simply an engagement with technology, which I have to say is not something I really like. Technology is a very difficult thing to master and to figure out how it all works. It's a very frustrating medium. Exhibited tonight, I go in, I look at my piece, 3 pieces are offline, and I'm going, how did that happen, right? So it's a very frustrating medium, but I think what's gratifying for me, and I hope gratifying for you, is that it is not a classic narrative. It's not Hollywood, it's not television. It's personal expression, and I would invite you all, if you're interested, to actually try being someone who could construct something small for the YouTube and have the pleasure of seeing yourself reflected in your words, in your presence, in your thoughts, in your memories, in your dreams, in your, it's a great medium for an artist to work in. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace and Kristina and Catlin, so much for that. And we'll wrap this up with just a few quick things. Grace's work will switch over. It's showing tonight, but after tonight we'll just have Kristina's work up for the 3 weeks, and then Grace's work will be out from August, starting on August 12th. The catalogs that MediaNet produced, Crossing Channels, are available in the gallery shop. And the brochure has all of the programming and the full itinerary, so there's more artists coming and lots of programming coming up, and it should be an exciting season. So grab one of these, and thank you so much for coming. It's a great turnout. Thank you.
Important thing is my car. I think I most treasure my cat. I used to have a 1962 Fender Precision bass, pre-CBS. I had clay dots in the neck, but I didn't play it for 10 years, and I thought this beautiful instrument should be played. So during my phase of I am not going to be attached to material possessions, I decided to sell it because somebody else should be using this beautiful instrument.
Well, I think that most treasured possession is something that you can't touch, but it's my intellect.
I love my Macintosh. It's a rocket. It's like riding a rocket whenever you're on it because it's really fast. It's just ever so slightly unstable.
I would have to say there's an object that my grandfather left to me that's impersonation smoking hole in the shape of a chipmunk.
My library, definitely. And then my rock, which is this one.
I've been saying dude a lot lately, but I don't say that out of the street.
Not even. I say that. Well, it might be worse.
So I think I use the word possibilities an awful lot right now.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know, maybe whatever.
I think the word is cheers.
Would probably be awesome.
Actually,
I say sorry a lot, and I'm not even born in Canada.
if I want to live in a home that is my own, that I own, I'd love to own a house and live in that house. You know, I really like the place I'm living. I have a loft, a live work, loft, studio, apartment in Vancouver, but the only thing I would change is that it would be really nice if I overlooked the ocean. I think that's where I'm supposed to be.
Somewhere on the island, like have some property with a little lake on it, or lake and a stream, that kind of thing, some woods.
Someplace warm and sunny like the south of France.
Somewhere with a view and by the water.
It's high, definitely between Berlin and Holland.
Where it's hot.
called Haarlem in the Netherlands.
I like to live on the water, and I do.
I would like to live in a small village with the butchers and the bakers and with a lot of other artists in the community. I'd like it to be by the sea somewhere.
I don't think I'd like to live anywhere else except Vancouver Island.
To be honest, I'm not actually not afraid of too many things. I think growing old is the greatest fear, and not being old, but a period from about 35 until about 45 really scares me because nothing really happens.